Now, in Mark Brody's book, Every Shot Counts, in case you're not aware of who this chappie is, Mark Brody is an ex-NASA mathematician responsible for the strokes gain system now being used to determine the quality of our golf shots. Brody states that we should be trying to advance the ball as far as possible, while keeping it in play and avoiding penalty hazards. And I 100% agree with that. However, this seems to have been misinterpreted into we all need to be bombing our driver if we want to shoot lower scores. I mean, this is why I feel golf has got an identity crisis on its hands. As all I ever see when I'm on the range or on the course is folks just trying to do the first part of Brody's statement. Just because you have doesn't mean you can. This is golf, folks. The aim of the game is to get the ball in play. This isn't long drive where you get multiple attempts to hit the grid. This is why we first must identify the correct task in order to be able to critically evaluate. I'm never bothered by the length of a golf course, only its width. John Jacobs. As a general rule of thumb, a fairway is typically around 30 yards wide. Then on either side we have about 10 more of semi-rough, and then say an extra 5 or more for wiggle room before we get into the real junk. So let's just call it 60 yards of total usable width we have to play with. So instead of thinking about how far you can hit it, perhaps a better question is, how far can you hit it and keep it within 60 yards to around an 80% success ratio? Because in all situations we always look to manage the risk and run the odds to give us the best chance of a successful outcome. Nothing is a guarantee, but in order to fully commit, the odds need to be in your favour. Yet it feels like most are going for the 2 in 10 shot instead of the 8 out of 10 option. Now, the most common thing the average golfer is looking for is consistency. But here is the brutal, honest truth. What we should be looking for is more skill. It's not exactly a secret, but it might be to some, is the specific skill that separates higher skilled than lower is better club face awareness, which gives them more control over the golf club, which equals the ability to create more predictable shots. This allows them to fully commit and take advantage of the speed they have. Okay, so here comes the fun bit. How do we actually work on this? Now, driving ranges are great places to experiment and explore. They often bear very little correspondence to the actual golf course. So instead of aiming at one very unrealistic target that you have almost no chance of hitting, try creating a 60-yard wide area to be hitting into. If you're on the range, pick 2 targets that are 60 apart, which is super easy to do by just jumping on Google Maps to find out. You can even do it while you're on the range with your phone. Now, if you go to a range that does have Top Tracer, they even have this very option available as a game, funny enough, called Long Drive. Once you have established your boundaries, just start to see what shot you have or can create that will fit within that 60-yard space 80% of the time. However, remember, this is less about distance. It's more about developing more control and awareness of the club face. So I highlighted in episode 1 the concept of challenge point, which we can utilise again to build this vital skill. So if you're struggling, choose a shorter, more lofted club until you can. Still unable to complete, increase the width of your boundaries until you can keep your shots inside 80% of the time. But do not get down on yourself if this is the case, because this is all about establishing your level of challenge, aka your challenge point. Every time you manage to complete the challenge, make it slightly harder by either moving up to a longer club or reducing the width. So in order to develop the awareness of where the club face is in space, start with slower swings. There's no point going absolutely flat out because you won't be able to feel a thing at this point. Now I'm going to let you into a little secret here. This is bat and ball, folks. The golf ball goes where the club face sends it. So if the ball is going in a direction you're not happy with, it's because you sent it there with a club face that was pointing in that direction. To learn just about anything, all we need is a safe environment to experiment and explore against a clear objective. that is just outside our current capabilities, and our experience will become the teacher. Skill is like building muscle. It needs time under the right amount of tension in order to grow. If we wanted to build a muscle, we would choose an exercise that works that specific muscle. Then we would choose the amount of weight required to create the right level of resistance. Too light and no gains are made. Too heavy and we can't complete the exercise and risk damaging ourselves. In regards to skill, the challenge is the exercise and the context is the weight. And this is exactly what I meant when I mentioned contextual repetition in episode 1. This is how we develop skill. So now I'm going to add a little bit more weight to the situation. And we're going to play a little game against myself. So player 1 is going to hit driver as far as he possibly can on every single tee shot. And we'll just see how this plays out. However, this is something and a skill that I'm working on at the moment, so therefore it is more luck than it is skill, because I define skill by being able to do it more often than not, and as you can see, it's not the case right now. Player 2 is going to play a bit more in line with their own skill and ability, with shots that they know they can play through the practice and through their training. Because I would argue that even though I'm not hitting it as far as I possibly can, what I am doing is following Mark Brody's original statement, hitting it as far as I'm capable of hitting it, while keeping it in play and avoiding penalty hazards. Because although hitting driver and hitting it as far as you can will give you an advantage, but only if you can pull it off. And this is where my practice and my training is coming in. I want this to work. I want to be able to hit driver as far as I can and just send it. But right now, I just can't. I don't have the skill to be able to do it. Even though I have the capability of hitting it further, I don't have the control to be able to manage it. It's a bit like thinking of it in the way of a car being able to go faster. But the big question is can the driver handle it at those speeds? Or are they just going to have a big crash? So obviously the driver is the weakest club in my bag, and this is why I'm working on it. And I will not put it into play until I can make it work in my practice. You're actually watching me practice right now. I'm playing against myself. I'm playing against my authentic self and what I'm capable of doing against what I'd like to be able to do. As soon as that position happens, when I develop the skill, which means I can do it more often than not and do it on demand, then I'll be able to take it out to the golf course. But because I've been practicing against the right context, I know this will transfer. Because instead of taking my range game to the golf course, as you can see, I'm taking my golf course game to the range. Because it's a complete fallacy that you can even think that you could build a bulletproof swing that would hold up under pressure. Which is why we need to build a bulletproof belief system that we can hit the shot that we're trying to hit. Because you've done it time and time again under the right context in your practice. Because it's said that the amateurs practice until they get it right, whereas pros practice until they can't get it wrong. And this is when you see these guys step up under the most precious situations and hit these incredible shots, and you think, how the hell did you actually manage to do that? It's because to them, because they've done it 1,000 times before, so they know they can do it. All that being said, it doesn't guarantee that you're actually going to be able to pull off the shot, even though you know you can do it, because we're not robots. We're humans with thoughts, feelings and emotions that get in the way. And with that in mind, it makes even more reason to make sure that we're stacking the odds in our favour. Because gamblers gamble, winners play the odds. as I'm beautifully demonstrating right now. Advancing the ball as far down the hole as you're capable of doing is statistically the best way to shoot lower scores, because it's all about proximity to the hole, but not at the detriment of putting yourself into horrific positions and losing loads of balls. Because this is a little known fact, but the key metric in golf isn't driving. The key metric in golf is actually our approach play. Because when you look at Tiger's strokes gained numbers, it's evident that it was his approach play that set him apart. Scotty Scheffler's doing the same sort of thing right now. Because if you think about it, you cannot hit an approach shot if you haven't hit a good drive. Which therefore means a good drive allows you to have an unimpeded shot at the green. Now in episode 1 I outlined the objectives for what a good tee shot would be against each of the scoring brackets. However, if you don't want to follow these, I would start tracking how many times after your tee shot do you have an unimpeded shot at the green. So instead of seeing golf as a fight and trying to bludgeon it into submission, perhaps try seeing it more as a dance, when you move more in time and in harmony with it. This is real information for real golfers, or as I refer to it, the average golfer. For all you guys and girls out there, this is more than a hobby, this is a passion. But what I'm talking about is the golfer who is looking to improve and is shoehorning in the effort to do so, but disappointed with the fruits of their labour. If that's you, stay tuned and please subscribe, spread the word as I continue on with this series. Thanks for watching.